bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah. Oh, man, what is it about that music? It does make you kind of want to just go. Right? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, September 27th. 270 days into the new year. Just 95 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Man. Tonight, very special guest, Maureen Saint-Germain is back. One of our favorite guests here. We're going to talk about her new book, Waking Up in 5D. Oh, man. And if you've ever wondered, right, and that's the point, what is this 5D that everybody is talking about? 5D. And I totally get that. I really do. 4D, 6D, right? 12D. What are we talking about? The new book is Waking Up in 5D. And, what this show always does, and I try to bring it every night, is to learn something. And when somebody comes up to me and starts having a conversation about, 5D and awakening, and they're there, and they're, and they skipped 4D, or they've skipped 4D or 5D, and they're going to go to 6. Well, you know what? Do you really know what you're talking about? It sounds impressive, right? And I know a lot of people listen to this show, or they read books, or they're on social media, they're at conferences, and they hear some of these terms, right? And they want to inject it into a conversation with the best of intentions, don't get me wrong. But what I want all of you tonight after the show, when you're hanging out at a conference or with friends, or you're sitting around a table, you guys are talking, and this subject comes up, you need to know exactly what you're talking about, right? So when somebody else at the table brings it up, maybe you can set somebody straight. You got to show them the big brain that you get from Fade to Black. And I get it. You get it from Fade to Black. I get it from Maureen. Maureen vicariously, right? It goes in this circle. So if I learn something from Maureen. Maureen said to me today, she goes, Jimmy, that show with Randall. And I'm like, yeah, right. So immediately after that, I called Randall. This is just literally, folks, you can ask Rita right now on Twitter. This is 15 minutes ago. And Maureen's learning from Randall. Like, and that's it. That is so what this show is about. It's just absolutely great. So let's do all of this together. It's a great community that we have here, and it's always about learning something every single night. I don't know sometimes when things may get a little too fantastical, or that the store or the experiences or a dream or whatever, they may get out there. So that's the point. When it goes in that direction, that's when I'm really on my game. That's when I am really listening. Because if you go back, and I'm thinking we're all in 4D. See, that's what I'm saying. What is 4D? Mark, do you know? Follow us on Twitter, by the way, at JChurchRadio. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And hashtag F2B. That is the sandbox. That's where our community hangs out. You can also go into one of the chat rooms at KGRA or over in Spreaker. That's all cool. That's all available to you. But I'm watching Twitter right now. Mark just said, I'm thinking we're all in 4D. And I'm length, width, height, and time. Okay? See, now, what, Mark, do you know? I don't know. I don't know. Because, well, you know what? We're going to talk to Maureen about all of that. So, Mark, save that. Hit me later in Faded Black Questions. Oh, wait a minute. He already did. So if you have any questions or comments during the show, pop it over in hashtag F2BQ. All right? Tonight, Maureen Saint-Germain. Tomorrow night, another Fader night, open lines all night long. And, of course, John Rappaport will be here with his No More Fake Newsroom live. Call numbers are 323-825-5045. I think we should do some phone calls tonight. And 323-275-9695. How about that show last night with Phil Proctor? Was that just off the charts greatness? And I have to say, that put me in the mood. Man, and so today, Phil, he was talking about street lights and the light on the Magic Chef and him walking in. And so today he's in Washington, D.C., and literally turned out a street light. It took two street lights together, right? And one went out, and he sent me pictures. Like, man, Phil, what a show. What a show. He's got to come on here again very, very soon. All right, you can also email throughout the show, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Let me get some stuff out of the way, of course. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Over 700 archive shows right there, Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. And if you want to become an official Fader Not, become a part of our family, you may think that you are. Right? If you really want to go hardcore Fader Not, you really want to go there, get a hat and a T-shirt. Then that's when you represent. We have 4 ways to do it, all the way from Fader Not for free. You get the bunker cam on Thursday nights and email for me and all of that stuff and all those benefits that come with it. All the way through the Game Changer. All of it helps support the show. So go and do that now. Become a member over in our membership area. You get commercial-free downloadable archives and all that stuff, okay? And don't forget to visit all of our sponsors that we have on the show. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com. Today, I do this every day, but I've been doubling up lately. You heard me cough. And I think it's allergies. And when allergies kick in, allergy season, you normally think, you assume you're getting a cold. So I jumped on it, man, and I just doubled up everything. Allison, I'm taking that. I'm taking Allergy from New Pharma, which is amazing. And, of course, I take the foundation from New Pharma. I'm drinking the tea. I do this every single day. The super strength tea from Life Change Tea. I drink it every single day. And so lately, this is my regimen. I'm holding it up for everybody in the bunker cam. That's moringa, pine bark, vitamin C drops, double doses twice a day of all of this. And I feel great. I got to say, New Pharma, the combination between New Pharma and Life Change Tea, the two companies complement each other. And I can't believe how good I feel, especially at my age, right? I need all the help I can get. And Life Change Tea, the tea every single day. So I feel great. The other night, I think it's allergies. But today I feel like nothing was wrong, right? Okay, but no pharmaceuticals, man. I'm doing all I'm doing all the natural stuff here. And don't forget about Sacred Skulls and Ancient Life Oil, CBD. I would have never thought, with all of the bottles of supplements that I have here, one day here in the bunker, I have a trash bag full of bottles, hundreds. And I took some of them I took more than others. But the only thing that I've stuck to for the last year is Life Change Tea and GetTheTea.com, those supplements, and New Pharma. And I haven't stopped. It's just been great. All right, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the one, the only, Meatloaf. 70 years old. 70. Wow. Happy birthday, Meatloaf. And here's another shocker. You would have thought that this guy was older. Sean Cassidy today is 59. And I always thought that Sean Cassidy and I were like the same age. He's older than me. Dude is 59. He's 6 years older than me. There you go. Gwyneth Paltrow today is only 45. There you go. On this day in history, in 1989, it was an OTD. Yeah. Zsa Zsa Gabor. You know, and every year it seems like I do this because it was such a shocking thing to go through in Los Angeles. It was on TV every single night. Zsa Zsa Gabor, 1989, was on trial for slapping a police officer, right? Storms out of the courtroom in the middle of the district attorney's closing argument. And then later that day, she was crying and just ran out. She was convicted and sentenced to 72 hours in jail, 120 hours of community service, and $13,000 in fines and restitution. Got pulled over in a Rolls Royce. Expired drive. Check this out. Now imagine if this happened today. It doesn't matter if it's Zsa Zsa Gabor or anybody else. But expired driver's license, expired tags on her car, open container of alcohol in the front seat, right? All of this goes down when she gets pulled over. She gets in her car and drives away. The cop chases her down again, pulls her over. She gets out of the car and slaps him, right? She gets arrested. Now, imagine if that went down today, Zsa Zsa Gabor or not. You get shot. That's what they do today. Back in 1989, they would still, just give you 120 hours of community service. But can you imagine if I slapped a cop after he had to chase me down a second time? What would happen? Oh, man. 120 hours of community service. All right, fate or fact. Will Ferrell was a mall Santa before he became famous. And that is your fate or fact. All right, tonight, Maureen Saint-Germain is here. She's going to be here in exactly 15 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly 15 minutes. She'll be here at the bottom of the hour. I don't know if you noticed this Twitter war that's been going on, and it's heated up over the last week or so. Hip-hop artist B.O.B., not Bob, but B.O.B., he's a believer in the flat earth. And the thing, okay, just let me go a little bit further than this. He's trying to generate crowdfunding to send satellites up into Earth's orbit using GoFundMe. And he says that he is starting the GoFundMe because he'd like to send one, if not multiple satellites as far into space as he can to find the curve. And I'm quoting B.O.B. here. I'm air quotes in the studio. I'm looking for the curve. Okay. Now, B.O.B., whose real name is Bobby Ray Simmons, has raised more than $1,700 smackaroos of his $200,000 target. He's done that in 4 days. However, $1,000 of the total was personally donated by B.O.B. himself, who is a member of the Flat Earth Society, by the way. You know, that forum for free thinkers to discuss alternative science and unusual ways to view the world. Yeah. Well, me personally, I seriously hope he raises the money, because it would be a way to totally stop this crazy theory in its tracks. And if you think about it, I want one of these guys to prove it for themselves, because you just can't argue with these guys. You can't debate, right? You can't. There's a lot of reasons for it. But then again, it would kind of bum me out, because this whole flat earth debate thing, I'm challenged all the time. I'm challenged. And when I am challenged on some pretty serious subjects and ideas, it takes a lot of energy, right? I've got to think. I've got to use brain power. I've really got to get into these subjects. And to go through a 3-hour show, sometimes on these very important, I'm tired. I'm exhausted at the end of the show. Not so when it comes to flat earth, because that's easy. That's nothing. It doesn't take anything, right? There's no energy. The flat earth theory, for me, is like taking a break. It's like taking a night off. It takes no effort. It's easy. It's fun. And, well, pretty much, it's like, I don't know, what's that? Fish in a barrel, right? Recently, even Neil deGrasse Tyson has gotten involved. It's been going on for months. And recently on Comedy Central, he went at Bob, B-O-B, which for me is amazing, because I seriously thought that this whole flat earth thing would die a silent death last year. I thought it was just so passé, right? It's just so last year. And to me, it's kind of funny, but it didn't die. And like I said, and I mean this, challenging the flat earth theory is easy. It's sport. And for someone like deGrasse Tyson to jump in, it just says that enough is enough, right? You know, the opposition, science, bringing out the big guns, if you think about it. Because it's nothing, if it's nothing for me to argue, then it's nothing for deGrasse Tyson to argue. It's not. And he doesn't like to debate. He doesn't like to do that kind of stuff. And so for him with the flat earth, that part is easy, right? But for him, it goes much deeper. For him, it's more about the why people have bought into it. And that's what I like. Not about the facts presented by the flat earthers. No, it's about why this has been allowed to continue. Somewhat grow. I don't know. I guess amongst the flat earthers, you know what? I don't know. I don't follow it that closely. I don't go to the websites or the YouTube channels. It's a total waste of time. But we have to think about the why for a second. So as I was doing that today, a couple of things hit me. Are you ready? You remember the map that they always show? The United Nations map. Somebody get that up in Twitter. The United Nations logo, right, which is the flat, the flat Earth, right, with Antarctica going around the edge. Now, if you think about this for a second, when they show that flat map, the equator. Now, if you look at the Earth, right, I don't have. Okay, I'll use my alien hacky sack. Here's my alien head hacky sack. So if you look at the Earth. The equator goes around here, right? So that's the longest line around the Earth, right? That's the equator. And so the equator, where the equator is, if you look on a flat map, that means the equator is a central ring now, right? It's in the middle. So if you're going south of the equator on the traditional globe of things, then now your path around the Earth is shorter, right? Of course. But if you're on a flat map, if you go south of the equator, it's now a longer trip around the world. So flat earthers, explain that to me. Are you telling me that if you go south of the equator, your trip around the world is now longer? And as you get closer to Antarctica, man, that's double what it would be if you were on the equator, according to your map. This is your information. So if you followed it, it would actually be longer. But if you are on our round Earth that is really round, the trip gets shorter, right? And the closer you get to Antarctica, that ring down at the bottom of the world, that ring is really small around Antarctica. That trip in an airplane around Antarctica and you're following the coast and looking out the window is going to be really short. But according to you and your flat map, that trip around Antarctica would take forever. Thank you for posting that, Mark Tarana. That is absolutely wonderful and beautiful. You are the best. So I think you guys understand what I'm saying here, right? The equator. And if you skip down a ring, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But that last ring around Antarctica, that's a long trip. That's double the equator trip. It doesn't work. It's, so that's it. I don't need science. I don't need physics. I don't need satellite imagery. I don't need any of this. I'm just going off of what you say and what you present here as your evidence. And it's not evidence. It's just discounting and disproving what you're trying to prove. Now, the second point. The horizon's always flat. The horizon never moves. It's always flat. It's always flat. When you look out, it's always flat. Every picture, the horizon is flat. No, it's not, but it looks flat. Well, no, it only looks flat because it looks flat to you because you're small. Imagine how flat it is to an ant. Think about that. Everything is flat. But listen to me for a second. If you go to the Sears Tower, this is, flat earthers explain this to me. Well, they can, but listen to me for a second. If you go to the World One, you go to the one in New York, the new Trade Center, right? If you go there, at the bottom on ground level, and so you get your buddy together, you get two flat earthers together, and one guy's on the ground who's got a cell phone. Another guy goes and gets in the elevator, rides up, and right before sunset, right, 7:00 in the evening, and the guy downstairs looks at his watch, and the second the sun is setting, the second it sets, call your buddy upstairs. Okay, all right, it's setting right now. Okay, tell me when it sets up there. Now, if you're a flat earther, because they believe that the sun goes like this around the world above us, and it's only 4,000 miles away, right? Okay, so over the Sears Tower or any other 100-story skyscraper or whatever, the sun would set at the exact same time, right? Yeah, but it won't, because the guy on the ground, and he's looking at his watch, and the guy that's 100 stories above, because it's so high up, 110 stories, whatever, at the top, sunset is 2 minutes later, because the earth is round. But if it was flat and the sun is just right above both, then it would be setting at the exact same time, wouldn't it? But it doesn't. So I don't need science. I just need you and your buddy to go at the bottom floor, one at the 100th floor, 110th floor at the top, and get on a cell phone and talk to each other. That's it. But no, we don't have that. The breakdown in brain power and common sense, I don't know what's going on, but it must be our education system. It must be the lack of what is going down in a science classroom today, because I think that fundamentally everybody would just kind of laugh at this kind of theory, because it's way too easy just to, it's too easy. It's fish in a barrel. But you cannot argue. You cannot debate. So just go and do some of these things yourself. If the fundamentals of science, the very fundamentals about who and what and when, and these great people that came before us to help support us that we learned from over the years, if these basics were taught, we wouldn't be having this. But the cool thing about flat Earth, for me today, is this. Suppose you take something flat, like a quarter. Oh, I don't have a quarter. I wasn't looking for a demo. But so here's the top of a bottle cap, right? Okay, so see how flat that is. But if you took a quarter, and Rita did this to me the other day, and this is Rita, so I'm going to give Rita credit for this. She's the big brain in the room anyway. But, so if the Earth is flat, and you take a quarter and you look at it, you got lots of surface area, right? Right? Okay? Lots. But if the Earth is flat, So when you take a quarter and you turn it to the side, right, it disappears, right? You take something like this and you turn it to, it's flat. It disappears. It's thin, right? So if the Earth is flat, and you think about this for a second, if the Earth was flat and we had an asteroid coming at us and we knew it, right? And we're like this, asteroid's coming, good chance the asteroid's going to hit us, right? But what if the Earth is flat? Then we could like turn on some jets, some rocket engines, flip the Earth over like this, and the asteroid would pass us. Ooh, that's pretty cool, right? That mass extinction event wouldn't happen if it was flat. But it's not. But we can imagine, right? That's a science fiction movie in the future. Here's the Earth and, a little dome, and we do all of that, and we make a science fiction movie, and then an asteroid's coming, and we turn. That would be cool. Anybody want to help me with that screenplay? Think about that for a second. How outrageous. Why is it that we are at this point today that everybody out there that believes in the flat earth theory wants to prove something that they believe in, but they believe in it without any facts? Okay? It would be different if there was a fact, just one, a fact, but it's not. It's about a belief system. And that's where the danger kind of arises here. Because when you have, a rapper or a sports star, or maybe even a movie star, or maybe a politician or somebody that came up and they start speaking about this, the danger is you have a lot of fans out there. Potentially you could have millions of fans. And you start speaking like this, and those out there without maybe a scientific foundation to go off of start believing in this too. And that's wrong. Right? Am I right about this? Now, if you have a fact to back it up, that's a different story, right? So if Bob gets out there and he launches this thing into space and everything looks good and it comes back flat, then we have something to talk about. If it comes back round and it's his own evidence, this is what's going to happen. They altered my pictures. The picture was a fisheye lens. I spent $200,000, man, and you know what? I'm still not buying it. You can't win. You can't. And that's why this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with our guest tonight, Maureen Saint-Germain. Her new book, Waking Up in 5D. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Maureen, just Maureen Saint-Germain. It's TEI Incorporated. It's right there on Twitter. She's always hanging out. Tomorrow night is another Fader night. Open lines all night long. And we'll have John Rappaport in here with us. No More Fake Newsroom Live. And we'll see if Maureen wants to take a few phone calls later, and we'll do that. 323-825-5045. Maureen Saint-Germain is the founder of the Akashic Records International, the ARI, and Transformational Enterprises, Inc., TEI. She has over 25 years of research and practical experience in the area of mystical and sacred traditions, and her main focus in teaching the Akashic Records is to help you become the highest you can be at any given moment by loving your soul. Maureen has a personal connection with angels, ascended masters, and the divine feminine, and also dragons. Remember that dragon show we did with Maureen last year, a couple of years ago maybe? That was a great show. Anyway, Maureen has taught in 14 countries, including, I'm going to take a breath, Japan, Taiwan, China, Australia, Bulgaria, Egypt, Turkey, England, Scotland, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Maureen has been featured in many magazines, trade publications, and national radio, including Faded Black and Coast to Coast. Her books and CDs have been published into Chinese, Russian, and Italian. Tonight, we're going to talk about her new book, Waking Up in 5D, a practical guide to multidimensional transformation. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only, Maureen Saint-Germain. Maureen, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you know, you're a fellow Fader knot, you know, and you're always hanging out. And it was really great today when you said, you know, that Randall show. And I was like, you know, you are one of us, Maureen, and just thank you so much.
You are quite welcome. I always have a few things to think about that when you have that show.
Yeah, right. That was one of those that you just, you know, you had to take notes, right? So
yeah.
I wanted to before we get started, we've got a lot to cover tonight. But my little rant today before the show, I don't know if you listened, but no big deal. But this flat Earth thing, Maureen, what is going on, and why do people want to believe in something like the flat Earth? Or what's your take on it?
Takes your eye off the ball, doesn't it?
It does. Very well put. Okay. That's why you're the smart one in the room. But it does. Could it be just that?
Yeah, I think so. Just drama.
Just drama. When you okay, when you first, I got to hear what your thoughts were like the first time, because look, when you and I were kids, I don't remember. Nobody ever talked. I'd never even heard of the flat Earth. This is a new thing, right? It wasn't debated when you were in school.
That's all true. Yeah. First of all, to me, it's not even a debate. It's a stupid discussion because, as you said in your rant, there's no way to prove it, and all the evidence points in the other direction. So why are we having this conversation? And the answer is because it takes your eye off the ball, takes your eye off the sky, takes your eye off of what's really happening. And there's a lot happening.
Somebody posted in Twitter. I don't have the chance to just scroll back and find it, but somebody, I'm going to paraphrase, said, well, you know, in this world that we live in with fake news and conspiracies today, you know, almost being the new normal, you know, what do you expect? You know, it's just another conspiracy, and people want conspiracies, and they want to have something to believe in.
Yeah, I think that's well said.
Yeah, that's and I'm just trying to make sense of it all, you know, because I have, just like you and everybody in our community, the beautiful thing about our community is the open minds that we have, right? Mm-hmm. You and I can go to a conference, and Rita and your husband, and we can just sit down, and somebody will come up to us, and they'll tell us about their experiences, and they want to relate something to, and we sit and we listen and we have a conversation, and it's great and it's wonderful, right? That's right. Our community. But man, don't bring me this flat Earth stuff. It's where I close down, and I don't want to be that way. Okay, all right, well put. It's just drama taking our eyes off the ball. Mm-hmm. Now, let's kind of start here. I want to start with the basics tonight. And I'm looking at these comments in Twitter, and I got a bunch of email today about the show when it comes to 3D, 4D, 5D, and you can continue up the chain. Let's go with some basic definitions. Okay. When we are talking about a 3D, 4D, 5D, NED world, what is it that we're talking about with 3D? Am I in right now, without being awakened or not knowing anything, just man on the street, woman on the street, is that 3D?
Possibly. Most everybody has already experienced higher dimensions if they're paying attention to stuff that you're talking about. So any of our listeners, you or anybody, you know, on the show, they've already slipped into 5D quite a bit. And that's the big surprise. Even I was surprised when that information came in. And it came in a way that I could prove it. It started out with one of my kids who had come in the house and put something in his book bag. Now, for years, stuff had been disappearing on me. And, you know, there's certain things, you know, that your kids don't take. And the stuff that was disappearing had nothing to do with anything that they were interested in. So I kept saying, where's my stuff? And I would always be told it's in a higher dimension. Initially, I thought my stuff was moving like ahead of me, like practice, you know, we'll go practice. And so I would say, because it's a typical thing a mom would say, well, I want it back. Thank you very much. And then, you know, pretty soon it would turn up and it would be exactly where I left it. The drawer I put something in, you know, it could be a pair of sunglasses that you put away. They're not there when you're ready to go. You take the spare, you come back, you put the spare in the drawer, forgetting that they're the spare, and there's the original pair, and you think, what the heck? So I had been telling students all along, well, you know, if your stuff's disappearing, it's going to a higher dimension. Just ask for it back. And people started giving me feedback. Yeah, that works. Well, one day when my 16-year-old son, and he was the most grounded, you know which one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I've told you about him. Mm-hmm. He comes in, he throws something in his book bag. He throws the book bag on the floor. He comes in the kitchen, he starts telling me this big story, and then he says, here, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. And he goes back to his book bag, and he reaches in, and it's not there. And he starts to pull everything out. Now, I'm in my own home, around my own family. I don't even realize that it's like it's safe there. And I just said, oh, honey, it's probably in the fourth or fifth dimension. We'll just ask for it to come back. Why don't you come back in the kitchen? By now he has everything out of the book bag. So he puts everything back, comes back in the kitchen, finishes his story. And I said, okay, now go look for it. And he went, and it was right where it was supposed to be, on top.
Really? Now, aren't you messing with the young man's head just a little bit?
I don't know. These kids nowadays, they're sometimes they're way ahead of us.
I know, right? I know. So. It's scary. It's certainly scary.
Yeah.
And now, again, so just these fundamentals that I'm talking about, I'm in the supermarket. I'm pushing a shopping cart, and I'm passing another man, woman, whatever, in their shopping cart, not knowing them, and if they aren't awakened at all, they've never heard of Fade to Black or Maureen Saint-Germain. Where are they? Is it a
Probably
1D?
3D.
It's 3D? Okay.
Yeah.
And
but keep in mind that everybody is sliding back and forth. It's not, initially when we first started hearing about this, we all thought, oh, it's someplace you're going to go. It's like you get your driver's license and then you're now a driver and you can drive anytime you want.
Exactly.
It's not like when you borrow someone's car and anytime you want to drive, you have to borrow a car. So you always have to ask.
Right.
So it's more like that it's not a fait accompli. It's not automatic, but it happens energetically. And one of the ways is if your stuff's disappearing and then it's reappearing exactly where you left it sometime later. And for me, the tip of the iceberg was when one day, instead of asking, where did my stuff go, I asked the pivotal question, and I now teach people, this is the only question to ask when you're trying to figure something out, and that is, what's going on? Because all the other interview questions, who, what, when, where, why, and how, all of them lead you to a piece of information that you then use to solve the problem. Who took the cookies? Well, I'm going to go get them and, give the guy a hard time, or why are they gone, or when did they eat them? It's so you can solve a problem. But when you say, what's going on, you're actually getting the full Monty. And so when I asked that question, I was told, Maureen, you were in the fifth dimension when you put that down. And I thought, whoa, if I'm doing it, so is all the students, because they'd already confirmed to me that they were actually losing stuff and refinding it.
So what you're saying, because Rita's, down the hall in her studio listening to this. So what you're saying is I can use this as an excuse as well, right? And I can always...
You're not doing marriage counseling.
Yeah,
so hilarious.
Right. But, honey, Maureen said you heard the show. You heard the show. But
yeah, she loves me.
I know, right? But that is very, very interesting. And the possibilities of this, and I want to continue with the dimensions, the definitions, but the possibilities of this, once you start to experience it and start to become aware, now do you maybe squint your eyes a little bit and kind of, and walk through life wondering that this possibility and this awakening is there, and now you start to become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, it's like this. I can blindfold you and take you to Disneyland, and you won't know where this place is other than it's pretty close to where you live. But if I tell you what it is, after you've been there, you can find your way back. So it is the knowledge of this idea that actually opens you up to the possibility of noticing when you have moved into the other dimensions. And the thing is, if you're in third dimension, you don't notice anything higher. But when you're in fifth dimension, you can participate in third dimension. And you very often will pull people along with you into the higher vibration. And, we haven't talked about fourth. So let me jump into that for a second and say, it's like Grand Central. It's a portal. It's a place that you go to get somewhere else, or an airport. You're not going to spend the night at Grand Central unless you get stuck there. So you use fourth dimension to get to fifth. And yeah, fourth does have high and low energy, which we can talk about, when you're ready. But the idea is fourth is not a destination. It's a portal. That is the portal.
You don't want to be Tom Hanks in the terminal, right? You don't want to be stuck in customs forever.
No.
Right. Now, when somebody sent me an email, and this was about 2 weeks ago, and this person is probably listening to the show, fate or not, right? And just sent me this little one line saying this: I have been waiting for this 5D awakening for this planet forever. And if it doesn't happen this year, I'm going to focus my energy somewhere else. Now, is this something that could potentially happen all at the same time where everybody is elevated? Or is this an individual transformation?
I think it's both. I think this is like hitting critical mass or the tipping point. So right now, there's a lot of people that are sliding up to the higher dimensions and then sliding back down. And each of us can influence the greater whole by how we act and what we choose to do and, being proactive. And that's what the book's about. It's to, teach you the stuff that you could choose rather than just do something by default. And once you know what you're looking for and what to choose, then you're more likely to maintain that vibration. And your maintaining that vibration attracts more of that. Right. So it's kind of like a two-way street. You're going to attract the teller at the bank that's, at that energy level. And you're also going to be lifting up someone if there's only one teller there. It works both ways.
Is there a reason to, and then we're going to go to 4D, is there a reason somebody would want to go back to a 3D reality and stay there or visit once you start to make this transformation?
Initially, yeah, because we don't have all our stuff sorted out. Like you got energy on, the way people treated you or the way someone talked to you. And so people have crushes or chips on their shoulder, whatever. Mm-hmm. And all of that causes them to anchor down. I mean, if you're in 5D, you're not going to have any judgment about what other people do. That also means you don't care if they don't get their comeuppance. But when you've been wounded, you want them to get their whatever, their punishment, whatever that is, caught or whatever. So it changes how things are perceived, and it changes the way you think. So it's partly a conscious choice that a person could consciously choose to move in that direction. And, all this, this started happening to me, and I was observing it and asking the question, what's going on? And the more I asked, the more information came in, and I'm fortunate because I've taught so many classes in so many places. People ask deep questions in those classes, and I get to be the channel for the answer.
I was just, I got to stay on point here, but I just thought I was watching, check this out. I caught you on TV the other day, on TV. Rita and I were watching, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. The audience probably does, but there was this documentary, and so we clicked on it, and because it was John Anthony West, and it was mm-hmm. you and John Anthony West doing a lecture together, mm-hmm. and you were you were asking some really great questions, but there, and you walked onto the. I was like, "There's Maureen." When was that shot? Where was it? By the way, it looked like it was in a library.
Yeah, I think that was at the Edgar Cayce Center in New York. Is
that where it was? Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was it was like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months before he got sick.
Right. It looked new.
Yeah.
And, okay, so there you go. So, yeah, wasn't that fun? We're just in bed doing our thing, and then Maureen walks across the screen. It was pretty funny. Great presentation by him, by the way. Oh, yeah, my, my. He was on his game. Told some really good stories, too. Anyway, back to when somebody is talking out loud about being in 5D, should we trust that person? In other words, if you're there, you're not really. This is stuff that it's your own personal development, right? Should you project where you are onto somebody else and speak about this? You know what I mean? I'm bothered by that, in other words.
Well, if they're coming across as superior, the answer is obvious. That couldn't possibly be in 5D, because in 5D, everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. So anybody who wants to lord it over you or lord it over someone, that they're in 5D and you're not, they're obviously not in 5D, because they couldn't possibly be in that space and label somebody, because that labeling brings you right back into 3D. It is the compartmentalizing of people and situations and circumstances that knocks you out of 5D. So even if you're in this lovely place, 5D is like when you first fall in love, you're driving in traffic, somebody pulls in front of you, you don't care. Oh, they're probably having a rough day. Somebody's obnoxious, you don't care. You're just, that's too bad. Maybe their mother died today, and you always are making exceptions for people when you're in that great, yummy state. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things could bring that on. You're a promotion, a success, learning some good news about someone. And that is the state of 5D. And that's the easiest way to recognize that you are in a state where nobody can piss you off.
Right. That's very interesting. So when somebody is, and I hear this a lot, I'm in a 5D, I want to get to 6, I bypassed 4, or I went through 4, I'm going to go past 5, I'm going to go straight. And I'm thinking to myself.
Sounds like Monopoly.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's not a game. And it sounds like somebody is using these big supernatural, esoteric, conscious terms, maybe for other reasons, but they may not understand exactly what they are saying.
I would agree in a big way, because if they truly understood, they would be filled with so much compassion and so much love and so much patience for everyone around them that they wouldn't need to wax philosophical about it, because they would be in this state of blissful acceptance of everyone and everything. I want to go back and talk a little bit about, I want to tell a story, because it's a great story about a guy I worked with who was quite well off, and he had a hot car that he was selling to his son, and the son had just finished law school and talked his father into selling this hot car to him. Now, the dad had a whole different plan in mind, and he was going to sell the car for, maybe $10K, a whole lot more than what his son was willing to pay for it. And he's telling this story at work, how he kind of got, taken to the cleaners by his son. And I just looked at him and I said, well, Ray, just think how proud you would have been of your son if he'd gotten that deal from somebody else. So that whole vibration of, I've got to get the better hand, I've got to get the better half, I've got to get the better something, is 3D. And when you're thinking like that, and when you're, we've all been taught to kind of look out for ourselves to the point of maybe taking advantage of someone else. But when you say to someone, look, whatever it is we're doing here, I want to make sure you're getting what you need and I get what I need. It changes the energy. And it's so cool. You could be buying a car, you could be, waiting in line. It doesn't matter. And we're all faced with our own little attitude. I wait in a lot of lines because I travel so much. And, every once in a while someone will jump in front of me in line and say, or they'll just jump in front of me, and once in a while I'm just annoyed. I'm human. I'm in my 3D place at that point, going through security. I don't like that part of travel. And, one time I said something to a guy, and it was so funny because he turned around and he said, I am so sorry. And I looked at him and my jaw dropped. And I said, you know what? So am I. I am so embarrassed that I even said anything. He said, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We're all in this together. It was so cool. That guy was mirroring 5D back to me.
And when we come back, we're gonna we'll put the car in reverse a little bit, and we're gonna go back to 4D. And I'm looking at, we've got 3 minutes. The overwhelming perception of 4D when somebody is speaking to me about it is that it's dark, that it's evil, it's bad, it's not good. why do people have that perception of the 4D?
Because they don't know that it is both positive and negative, just like where we're at now. So 3D has polarity, and so does 4D. But so much of the darkness that has kind of, I'll use the word, rained on our parade here has shown up from fourth dimension, that people tend to think that's all that can come from fourth dimension.
Right.
But fourth has a polarity, and I've observed it in terms of energy going downward like a tornado, and going downward like a quicksand, and going upward like a tornado. So 4D can lift you up. And the way to understand that is, those of you who are musicians, and you know this musically, there's a half step between
notes. Most notes.
Right.
Most notes.
So if you look at a regular diatonic scale where you're going 1 through 8,
right.
C, D, E, F, there's a half step there. So it's easy to slide into fourth and go back down. But the thing about fourth is that it drives you either to the fifth or to the octave. So that's how you can know for sure that fourth dimension also has a component that's very high, because it does push you up. If you do any chords or any kind of music, you can, hear that, and, you play a bunch of fourths, and you got to play a fifth after it, or you got to play the octave.
Right.
You need that resolution.
Now, what if you're stuck between B and C without a half step? That's a music joke. The musicians out there got it, and the rest of them are like, church, that was just dumb. Let's take a break right here, Maureen. We'll take a break. When we come back, I want to finish up on 4D, and then we're gonna take off from there. Our guest tonight, Maureen Saint-Germain. Her new book is Waking Up in 5D. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. More with Maureen right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case.
This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Maureen at TEI Incorporated. Just look up Maureen Saint-Germain. It'll pop up right there on Twitter. She's always hanging out in the sandbox with the Fadernauts. And Maureen, I got to tell you, the nights where I'm paying attention to Twitter and I'm in the middle of a deep conversation and I watch you pop in with a comment, it's always a great moment. And and I want to thank you for that. You know, the Fadernauts, the guests that come in and hang out with them, it says a lot. And you're part of the family. So seriously, just thank you. And you're part of the growth that we've had here on Fade to Black over the years, and you've been with us since the beginning. And just thank you for that. Okay, enough of that. The thing that I want to, for those that are listening tonight, to get a lesson in what is 5D and what we're talking about, when you are speaking to a class and you're teaching, and there are those, you'll have half the class that knows exactly what you're talking about, that you'll have the other half that needs to be talked to from the basics, right? So to those, to the uninitiated, when will they be ready, and how will they recognize and see that they are ready for this? How do you speak to them?
I think anybody who's going to show up in a class with me is already thinking about these things. And I want to throw you a curveball and tell you that when I walked away for the break, I actually got a hit that 2D and the flat Earth are a match. And
that makes sense right there. That makes sense.
And we actually did a meditation where people experienced the earliest expression of their form. When did I first show up in as a separate consciousness? And this guy saw himself as like a flat piece of paper, like the Queen of Hearts, in Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
So maybe there is a 2D, but those guys that are doing that, they're not really experiencing the full spectrum of what's available. Now, going back to your actual question, I think what happens is there is a certain quality that shows up when you're 5D that doesn't show up until you're ready to make that shift, and that's compassion. So when a person is willing to have compassion for somebody else, whether it's because you're late for a meal or whatever it is, that person's already showing their readiness for 5D, and that they're at least holding that vibration for just a second. I remember when I first moved to New York City, and I was living off of my seminar business, and I didn't have enough money to make the rent. And I called my landlord, and I said to him, Michael, I'm not going to make the rent on time. And he said, well, when do you think you'll have it? I said, well, I've got a workshop in 2 weeks. I should start getting money in the next 10 days. And he said, well, just pay me when you have it. I was blown away. New York City.
Right. 5D, right there.
5D, right there. Exactly.
That 2D reference to flat Earth, I can't let you get away that easy. Because that is exactly the definition. If you are insisting that this round, 3-dimensional, right, or 4-dimensional planet is flat, then you are in a two-dimensional world. And you are seeing things in a two-dimensional sense, and you're not looking at things in 3D. Your entire mindset is 2D because you are even closed down to ideas, right?
Well,
and you're willing to go backwards.
Think about that's the same point of reference from 3D to 5D.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a leap that at first you don't even get it. It's like, what? How can this be? And to put in your brain that there's no more karma and that people will purposefully only work with you when they know that you can get what you need at the same time. It's so dramatically different than, the 3D competitive world that we're starting to move away from. I mean, if you look at the young people, they're already operating that way. They don't have that intensity of competition like their older generations.
And Mark from Australia just tweeted, and this is what he said. He said, I live in a 4D world already. I have length, width, height, and time. Right? Now, that is not what we're talking about. And for those out there, well, we can in another way, but for those out there that are thinking 3D, 4D, 5D, that is not what we're referring to here.
Well, and, I actually bring that up in the book. I say, that scientists say that the time is fourth dimension, but that's not how I experience it. And, I try to think of myself as somewhat grounded. And so when I'm getting this esoteric information, I'm always looking for a way for it to be understood in practical terms, because I want to reach people where they're at so that they can make that leap. So that was one of the biggest surprises to me, that time was the fourth dimension, that science says, and that no, time's just a construct, and fourth dimension is a zone. We think of that movie What Dreams May Come, where Robin Williams tried to get his wife, and she was in that zone of self-recrimination.
Yes.
That's the lower part of fourth dimension. But the higher part of fourth dimension is when you're in a really happy place and you're in this zone of things are going really well and you keep going. And so you go right into fifth pretty quick. So the upper fourth dimension, that realm, the other half of fourth dimension,
right,
isn't as noticeable to us because it's so easy to slide right into fifth.
Right. And now, what about, is 4D always the transition no matter what? If you're going to slip back down to 3D for whatever your reasons are, 4D is, you have to do that portal.
Yeah. But, the portal could be as fast as the, Star Trek thing where you don't even know where you've been. You just hear and then you're there.
Right. Man, just absolutely fascinating. Now, how do we start to read, see, or feel these energy patterns?
Initially, you'll notice it when you're laying in bed at night and you're thinking about your day. And you're thinking about something that went down, and you think to yourself, "Whoa, I don't normally react that way," and it's a good thing, like you have. Well, I'll tell you something that happened to me just the other day.
Okay.
I was back home from China. I was my very first day back after being away 3 weeks, and Vito walks in. My husband walks into my office. I'm on the phone, and he says, "Where's my lunch? I'm hungry." Now. I like to cook, and I like to cook for him, and I like to make our meals, so it's not a big deal. So I got up, took my phone with me and my headset and just moved to the kitchen and started taking care of that. And then he did the same thing the next day. So then later that day when he was inviting me to go shopping with him, he says, "Don't you want to go to Costco with me?" And I said, No, I like to look at stuff. And I could just see myself dropping down into that material world, looking at the books, looking at the clothes, whatever's there. And then without even thinking, I said, when my 5-year-old gets out, you don't like it. And then without another beat, I looked at him and I said, "And your 5-year-old was out yesterday and the day before when you were looking for your lunch." And we both cracked up. That's a 5D observation of him. Normally you'd get mad. Quit bugging me. I'm on the phone. What do you think this is?
Right.
So it's a different energy. I'll tell you something else that happens that is absolute positive proof, and some of you will have already experienced this and maybe have not labeled it this way, but the next time it happens, you're going to be able to label it. And that is, you're sitting in your car in traffic, and maybe you're the third car back from a red light, and the light changes, nobody moves. The people who are supposed to be crossing don't start crossing. The guy in front doesn't start crossing, and you're just sitting there watching. You're not really worried about not going yet. You're just kind of wondering, what the heck? Why isn't anybody moving? And then they move. In 5D, you're actually anywhere from 2 to 20 seconds ahead of what's going down. So you're actually seeing the light change before it changed for the people in 3D.
Right. Happens all the time. I mean, to me.
I'm not surprised, because you come across all the time. You're very open-hearted and very generous in your spirit. So you're constantly choosing or striving to be in that space. So I could see it happening to you a lot.
Well, I am in a constant battle with negativity in the dark, right? Because before I started to see things correctly, I was frustrated all the time because I was getting involved mentally with negativity, and I didn't understand it, Maureen. I didn't get it, and your life is always that way, right? So it's just the way it is. And then you get
this big aha,
right?
And that's
and
what
you
the
get
book's about,
right? And when you get that big aha, now you have another, choose your battles, right? Mm-hmm. But now you are on this other thing where now you recognize it. So now you have to constantly wash, rinse, repeat. You're always looking for it, and you have to find a way around it. And you're always happy, and you're always in a much better mood. But you also start to recognize how other people are completely overwhelmed and consumed with negativity, and they don't get it. They don't get it because they haven't had that aha.
That's right. Well, one of the ways that people can get the aha is just to ask themselves, am I focusing on what I don't want? When I drive through the neighborhood with a friend and they see a house that they don't like, if they point it out to me, I'll just smile and say, well, are we looking at stuff we don't want to look at? Are we talking about stuff we don't want? Why do that? When you could focus on what you do like. And that's the thing that even the people who are teaching manifestation will tell you, focus on what you want and you'll get more of that. And when you put your attention on what you don't want, you'll get more of that. And it's a very tricky thing, and it's a very fine line, especially for people who are in relationship, because they've got to be able to hold their boundaries and say this is not acceptable,
right, when
stuff happens. But at the same time, to be able to say I'm going to really focus on what I like and what I want. But even in a relationship, if you had 10 things that you didn't like about your partner and one thing that you really liked, you just focus on that and focus on that all the time. And every time you catch yourself noticing that you're fussing about the thing you don't like, you just change your energy. Let me think about this again.
It sounds simple, but it's not easy to do, is it? I mean, it takes discipline.
It takes a certain amount of discipline, but I'm a big believer in tools. So I like to make a game out of everything. So when I first started noticing that I was aware that I could notice my negative thoughts, let's say, initially you don't even realize that you could notice your thoughts, or that you could notice your negative thoughts. But instead, that whole happy day thing where you're supposed to not have negative thoughts. And my joke is, well, when was the last time you stopped having a negative thought before you thought it? That's not possible. So instead, I say, well, take the negative thought and follow it with 2 positives. So when you notice you're bitching about your boss, I hate my boss, then you got to come up with 2 related positives that will antidote it. And 3 is even better. But I hate my boss, but they have great vacations. I have excellent pay, and the medical coverage here is awesome. And I like my coworkers too. So that antidotes it, and then the only thing left in the energy field is this. And that's how noise canceling headphones work. They take the sine wave of the offending sound and the noise-canceling headphones replicate the offending sound in reverse, and then they pair it up, and they sync it perfectly so that the waveform collapses. And the only way you can make a sound disappear is if you can produce the antithesis of it after the first time, because there's always got to be a first offending sound before you can make the sine wave that's opposite of it. The wave collapses,
right,
and it's gone.
Right. You have to sample it, throw it out of phase, lay it on top of each other, then it disappears.
Exactly. And that's what we can do with our thoughts. So if we notice that we're having a dark day or being negative, then just follow with 2 positives or 3. And I tell people to count. Count and make sure you're doing it. Don't let a negative thought get by you that you don't antidote with 2 positives or 3 positives.
It's amazing when I started to see this happening, not only to myself, but I can see it around me. But you do a couple of things usually when you get up in the morning. You may pick up your phone and check your email. You may turn on the TV and watch the news. Back in the day, you would pick up a newspaper right from the front of the house and look at the front page. And inevitably, something negative is going to be there. Maybe it's a negative comment in an email. It's a negative headline on the newspaper. It's something going on the television. And your day is dictated by that very moment. And you are now preoccupied by some negative thought. And it follows you, right? It'll follow you all.
And this is, you've brought up something really, really important. When I moved to Wisconsin, and I lived in Wisconsin for about 10 years, I was blown away that when the Green Bay Packers lost, Monday morning, everybody was doom and gloom. It could be a beautiful day, and they would still be doom and gloom. And it was shocking to me that people would be that caught up. But here's the thing. There are 5, maybe 6, maybe more things that people do that draw them into mass consciousness. And then mass consciousness is dictating to them. And it's that morning coffee. I got to watch the news. I got to watch the weather. Big sports event like the World Cup or the football games, whatever it is, we're following along with the masses. And so whatever's going on, we're like plugging into that and accepting the mass consciousness dribble, whatever it is. So I tell people, I'm not suggesting you don't drink coffee. My husband absolutely loves River Moon coffee, but what I will say is don't do it at the same time all the time.
Right.
Change it up.
That almost got by me, but that was pretty good. Thank you for that plug. Thank you for that plug. You see, and there are smart groups out there that understand this. They understand the power of negativity with a hashtag or with, there are not dark groups within the supernatural UFO community. No, I'm talking about global efforts into forcing negative thoughts. And it doesn't matter. You can almost pick a country, including our own, that do exactly this. They understand the power of a negative thought and how it can affect the way people act and think and make decisions. It is so powerful all the way to, and Maureen, I want you to comment on this directly. If you watch the local news or you watch the national news and you just watch the first 5 or 10, 15 minutes of a news broadcast, of a 30-minute news broadcast, there are going to be 10 consecutive stories about murders, negativity, crazy, dark, rated R news stories, right in a row. There is no happy news channel, right? There isn't a happy. Where is the happy network? It doesn't exist. They understand the power of that to keep people off of their game. And I think the more that we talk about this, the more people will recognize it, like you're saying, and then fortify that and support it with a couple of positive things after that to help negate some of the things that are trying to control the way you think and act.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, I'll bring up two things that are directly related to that, and that is learning the language of fifth dimension and swear words. And the reason I'm bringing them both up is because I met a woman who was a beautiful woman and very spiritually minded, and yet she was using, you know, pretty heavy duty swear words you would typically hear, you know, from a teenager or a gangster or something. And I said to her, you know, what's the deal with the way you talk? And she said, well, you know, those words really don't mean anything. They're just words. You know, they're just a bunch of letters that make a sound and make a word. And I looked at her and said, yeah, but, you know, people do all kinds of ritual stuff, prayers, rosary, whatever it is. And it means something, and it builds upon the previous person who did it. You know, and people who have a real strong intention when they're swearing, they have a certain energy, and when you say that same word, you're tapping into that energy. Mm-hmm. So you're magnifying it. So what we don't realize is that everything is connected, and the words that we use are going to be carried, or are carrying a certain energy that sets the field. So when we use harsh words, whether they're swear words or not, we're setting the stage for that energy to follow us, you know, and then that person, you know, is dealing with some big heavy duty issues. But I tell people, okay, let's talk about what words to eliminate. There's no right and wrong. There's no good and bad. There's, you know, no like or dislike or hate. And, the truth. There is no truth. And that's very interesting. So what do I tell people to say instead of? I say, well, you know, you can say, I choose. I champion your right to hold that belief as long as it pleases you, instead of saying you're wrong. Sometimes people say, I have to go get my kids at daycare. You know, that's a common thing, right? Or
right,
sure. My kids after school.
Sure.
And I say to people, you know, you don't have to do anything. You're picking up your kids because you want to, or because you don't want to pay the penalty if you're late. Doesn't matter. You're choosing to do that. No. And here's the thing. When you say I have to, you're also subconsciously subscribing to the have to generation, or that have to energy that makes people have to everything.
Right. Everything. That's a very interesting point. And I think another trap that people fall into is, you know, speaking of 5D, if you are being negative and you're not stopping yourself, right? If you are doing that, it's one thing to do it in private, right? You can be angry and nasty with nobody else around. And that's, you know, that's pollution that you have to deal with on your own. But when you're out there doing it in public, then you are giving the chance for that negativity to propagate.
That's right. That's right. You're throwing seeds.
You're throwing seeds.
Whether you want to or not, you're throwing seeds. We're all throwing seeds.
And do you think that, speaking about, you know, this negativity thing, people, I think, sometimes are negative because they may want to project. They may think that it's cool, or that people are attracted to it. People are not.
Sure. The water cooler thing, you know. Well, you should have heard my story coming into work, you know, and they're like one-upmanship, and it's kind of like a thing to make fun or to, you know, tell a tale. Well, my story's worse than your story. I've suffered more than you have, and it's like a competition again, you know. It's goofy.
And how do we identify? You can't speak to somebody about this, right? You can't. I mean, I can't imagine. We've all been told, you know, don't get involved in somebody else's relationship. Don't let them work that out. And you want to say something, right? You want to get involved, but you can't. There's certain things that you just don't do. Is that something else that you want to help somebody that maybe is being negative, and should you bring it up, or is this something that everybody needs to discover on their own?
Well, I think it depends upon, you know, where you're at in your relationship with that person. You know, I know a couple where the husband was absolutely verbally abusive to his wife, and people knew it. And when she got sick, everybody came out of the woodwork and said, she's sick because of you. And that man did a 180. On the other hand, you heard how I approached the lady who was swearing, because it's physically painful for me to hear those kind of words in the first place. And since she was in my company, I just looked at her and said, well, what is with that? Right. And you'll notice I didn't say you're right or wrong. I said what. Remember that what word is open-ended and it's non-pejorative. It's non-judgmental. So it gives people the space to tell you without feeling like they're defending themselves.
Right. That's tough. But
there's a practice. You just learn to say what instead of something else.
Right.
Don't do that or that, there's children in the room or whatever. Instead say, what is with that? What is that? And the person generally is willing to tell you. And then, then you can say, wow, that's interesting or whatever. Or, gosh, I found this to be true.
Now, what do we do with the friend? Because a couple of years ago, I had a friend, still a friend, that was going down the wrong path, right? Publicly saying things, posting, just private conversations were just going down the wrong road. And so I had a one-on-one, right? And just laid it out. And his response was, okay, you know what? I get it. I've been catching myself too. You know what? You're absolutely right. And for about 3 months, things were pretty solid. I was like, wow, look at this transformation. Today, 2 years later, he's worse like tenfold. Right? I mean, just does not care. I refuse to say anything anymore.
Yeah, well, I think that's smart. There is certainly energy that people can pick up that will cause them to behave badly, and then they kind of regret it. But then they fall into that pattern, and it creates a certain energy support for them, and so they keep doing it. Ultimately, people who are fiercely negative or fiercely harsh, they probably have energies in them that are kind of driving it and making them behave badly, or certainly behave worse than they would normally without that energy there.
And things that we don't know about, right? And so we can't hold somebody too much to the fire on it, because we don't know what's going on personally in their lives as well. It could be something that we absolutely know nothing about. And there is the other part that I was saying. Some things aren't my business, right? Or you know what I mean? And you
That's
just
right.
have to
and a person can kind of test the waters in their own mind. Is this going to be received well? And if you know the person, you run that conversation in your head, you're going to know whether they're in a place to hear it or not. And then you know whether to hold back. But there is something you can do, and that is you can put them in your prayers. And that's why I have the free divine government meditation out there, because I am of the opinion that a lot of the negativity that we see in all the political leaders that we don't like, whoever they are, is because we're calling them out and we're calling them bad names and we're saying garbage about them, and that energy gets just like throwing mud on the wall, Why not use that same energy and say, look, I'm praying that my angels help me. I'm praying that I follow divine wisdom, and I may as well include, whatever in that same prayer. Why not?
It sounds good, Maureen. I don't think those prayers are strong enough. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Maureen Saint-Germain. Her new book, Waking Up in 5D. This is Fade to Black. More with Maureen right after this. Stay with us, everybody.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi, I'm Matt Ray for U.S. Gold Bureau. I cover the market daily. No matter how strong it gets or what long-term predictions say, you can count on one thing as certain. There will be another crash. It will affect your assets. And when it happens, wouldn't you rather be 2 weeks or even 2 months ahead of the curve? Well, Wall Street insiders have been quietly converting their assets into gold for the last few years. Now it's your turn. Buying gold and silver is easier than buying stocks. With the U.S. Gold Bureau's Investor Guide, it's free, and you learn how to buy precious metals in or out of an IRA or 401k retirement plan. Your investment shipped directly to your home and is 100% insured and guaranteed. You control your investments and shelter them against the stock market, politics, and unknown threats. Act while your dollar is still worth something. Call U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD. U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD, 800-885-GOLD. Call today.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, for those on the bunker cam, we're back. But that feed didn't die, right? Only the network feed going out to the radio station. And so everybody I didn't even think about that. I should have muted or turned stuff off. But no, I left it on. So that's the advantage, everybody, for being a member and being a Fadernaut. Go and do it, because that means you get the live bunker cam feed. So when anything goes down, you can see me panic. Did you see me panic? Didn't panic. You know, that's just the way it goes. All right, Maureen, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, we didn't say anything, did we, for that should have been private? We behaved, right?
Right.
Okay.
I did say one thing that I wouldn't say on the air typically. I don't even know if you caught it. Maybe some people did.
Okay, well, you know what? But all of that is private. So that's the good news, right? I don't know what it was, but nonetheless, we're back. Maureen Saint-Germain, the network feed going out went down for a second. That one particular computer rebooted. Okay. Now, going back to where we were, now I've got to get my thoughts together here for a second. What I wanted to go to next, which is the next level of this, once one has arrived in 5D, feet firmly planted on the ground, right? The vision is there, the harmony is there. How do we protect that? How do we stay there?
Well, if you feel like you need to protect it, you probably shouldn't be in 5D, because even protection isn't necessary. Isn't that funny? You can only strive to maintain a place of compassion. That's all you can do. And initially, when you first start moving into that space, you're going to be tested or tempted. You know, somebody's going to push your button and you're going to fly off the handle, or somebody's going to do something, and you're initially not going to react, but then if it keeps happening, you might react. And that's all just to kind of throw you off. You know, I had a friend, I tell a story in the book about a woman whose son is in a police force. And they showed a horrific film, you know, at the graduation ceremony to kind of shock all the parents into accepting the possibility that their son might, you know, die in the line of duty. And it was totally unnecessary, in my opinion. But this woman was absolutely devastated. And she said it knocked her out of her place of you know, being in a place of 5D, where she could appreciate the reality in a way that would allow her to not need to judge everything that came along. So she had to, you know, work her way back up. And that does happen. And the other thing is, the rules are so different that you can consciously choose to step out of it. And what I mean by that is we were taught to operate a certain way in the reality. We were all taught this by our society rules. And when you're in 5D, all of it gets thrown out the window. And for example, someone will say, "Oh, you know, Jimmy Church, he's so nice. You know, if when I met him at the conference, he was just so nice to me. You know, like Chuck said that to me." And I just looked at him for a second and I thought, well, why wouldn't he be? And then I realized, because people have hero worship, or whatever you want to call it, you know, they hold people in high regard, and they expect that there's going to be like a snobbery thing, you know, going on. And so there's that quality that, you know, we all want to retain whatever status we have, or maybe we think we need to be safe. And then we gradually let go of that. And then we realize we don't need that. We don't need that kind of whatever. So the rules change considerably when you're staying in 5D, but one of them isn't.
And well, let's take that a step further, because there must be practices. There must be you have to keep your mind and body in shape, right? You have to rehearse. You have to practice. You can't go complacent in 5D. So how do you keep yourself in shape?
Well, it's like going to the gym. You know, when I first started going to the gym years ago, I hated going to the gym. I hated doing those exercises, but I knew it was important. But I reached a point where I actually liked going, where I enjoyed deciding to go. But that didn't happen overnight. So I think it's a matter of choosing it, making it a practice, you know, pushing yourself a little bit to show up and be a certain way, and, you know, fake it till you make it. And then once you hit a certain point, you know, it's pretty hard for people to knock you out of it. They still could, but you won't stay there for very long. And that's the best part. The more you hold your vibration at that level, the more comfortable you are with it, the less rattled you are by other people's things. You know, I was in a situation years ago. My sister had died. I was in a family gathering 6 weeks afterwards. I was blissing out because I knew my family would not have gotten together. We were from all over the globe. We'd agreed 2 years earlier to do this event as a family. And I had this feeling that I was so fortunate. And I had a stepsister. I have a stepsister who has a sharp tongue, and she's a very nice person, but she can be, you know, sharp with her words. And she was like baiting me, and I was just smiling at her and laughing at her and having fun, not laughing at her to make fun of her, but, you know, being joyful. And at one point I said, you know, this is my stepsister, to someone. And she said, we're too old to be stepsisters. Our parents didn't get married till we were, you know, both over 40. And I looked at her and I said, you know, I just lost a sister a couple of weeks ago, and I am just so happy to have another one. Didn't even faze me. So what happens is you don't hear the insult. You hear the message behind it. And this woman was the only girl in her family, so she was used to being special. She didn't want to be part of the girls or more than one. So it was, you know, for her it was a threat. But I didn't see it that way. I was just so grateful.
What about dreaming and paying attention to dreams, can you dream in 5D?
People mostly dream in 6D.
Now we're talking. Okay, I was wondering when we were going to go to 6D.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well,
so that's the dream time. We're almost always doing our dreaming.
Okay, well let's
6D.
stop. Let's stop for a second. Because we need to go where we're going to go next. What about dreaming in 4D? Right, about transitioning. Do we pay attention to that?
Some people do.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I would almost...
I tell you what, when you're tripping, you're very likely doing that. Graham Hancock wrote that great book, Entangled.
Yes.
And,
yes.
In that book, the transition right through the dimensions is right there if you look for it. So when you're tripping, the normal barriers that we have for 3D drop, and you're able to experience these other dimensions. You don't know that there are layers, like a rainbow or something, but they are there. So when you're dreaming, you're in a 6-dimensional place because that's where things can happen that don't happen in 3 or 5D, like flying and things like that.
Right.
But it's very interesting. When people are in meditation, let's say they're in a group, and then they fall asleep, and then the meditation is over and they're wide awake. Well, I found out that when that happens, it isn't that they fell asleep. It's that all of their consciousness went so high up that there's no connection. And I have a great way to explain it. The body elemental is like the engineer of your body. And so, if your body would be called the Enterprise, your body engineer would be called Scotty. So it's like when you go into meditation and you get really still and you kind of lose track of what you're thinking about, and you're literally out of your body. Everyone else thinks you're asleep. You might even wonder if you did fall asleep. It's like Scotty gets on the PA and says, she's going deep. Everybody go for coffee. I'll let you know when she's coming back.
Right.
And when you wake up, exactly when the meditation is over, that's how you know for sure that you were at a higher place, that there wasn't any energy you could bring back that would be discernible to you. Doesn't mean you're not bringing stuff back.
Right.
It just means it's not discernible. And a great example for that is when you're sitting on a bus or public transportation anywhere, and you hear somebody talking in a foreign language that you don't know. Maybe you recognize a few of the words. But once you get over that initial, oh yeah, I know that word and I know that word, then your mind drifts and you drift away from that. And even though they're within earshot and you can hear every word they're saying perfectly, you don't pay any attention to it. There's nothing there for you.
None.
And that's exactly what happens when you go into a high meditation and you're deep. And that's the 8th dimension. That's the last place that you have consciousness of anything. So if you're having that, I'll call it tripping out, you don't even remember what happened in the meditation, that means you went beyond the 9th dimension and you're getting good stuff. So you can no longer need to apologize. I fell asleep again.
I've only done that, Maureen, once. Okay. But it was bona fide. It was the real deal thing. And it just happened to me recently. I'm not going to get into the details. Everybody's heard me tell the story too many times. But it was when you do experience it like I did, and it was unexpected. It caught me by surprise. I went into I was just, how do I explain this? I was like a sheep. I was just following the lemmings to the sea, right? Everybody's going to start meditating.
Follow the energy.
Right, right. So I'm just, I close my eyes and kablam, right? Kablam. And it was a very, very interesting thing to go through. The point that I need to make to everybody is that I realized that time when it was, the bona fide, the real thing that happened, it. Mm-hmm. You know it. Just like you just said right there, you know it. And when you go up that high, when you take things to that next level, all things are, you are disconnected. You are unplugged. You go.
Right, the 3D body, the 3D world doesn't even matter.
Gone. And I went there. Now, when I came back and I tried to get my feet back on terra firma, which was difficult, Maureen, by the way. Physically, I was having a hard time doing things. Walking, right? Talking, thinking. I didn't recognize the world around me. All very interesting to go through. But the thing that one must realize is when that happens, then you understand what everybody else is talking about. Mm-hmm. Then you get it. Because until you've done it, until it actually happens, everything that everybody's talking about being awakened or meditation or this or chakra or another level, it's all words.
It's all gobbledygook.
It's gobbledygook. When you actually go through it, it's an epiphany. It's a life-changing thing, and you realize. Now, this is the funny part. I don't know if I want to do it again. I don't know, because I was not in control. I was not in control, Maureen. That it took me. I didn't step into it. I didn't volunteer.
Well, now you know how Corey Good feels.
Or others that talk about this. I totally get it. But now I don't.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If you are willing, you actually develop a skill set.
Right.
And that's the thing that people don't realize. You have to know some basic things. You have to know, look, I'm only interested in working with the light. So when you sit down to do any kind of meditation, you're really clear about that. So you don't, go on to the other side. That's why when people do ayahuasca, the shaman's doing all those prayers to set the field so that there's no attraction. Because once you drop the sheath around us, anything can happen. And the idea is that you want to go straight through to your higher self and then to higher realms that way, rather than being subject to anything that can come through. So you just make a clear intention. I'm only interested in working with the light. I'm only interested in having working with energies that are going to support the evolution of humanity, whatever it is. You don't have to even say you believe in God or anything like that. Just choosing to be on the side of the light. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, the first time you're on downhill skis and you're going down that hill and you're scared out of your mind, you're going, oh man, that was really scary. But then you realize, well, maybe I took too big a leap here. Maybe I could take a little leap instead. You go back to the baby hill and you work a little more until you get a little more strength and a little more control.
Right.
So that's what you do. You find ways to do it in smaller steps, knowing that it's possible to have that bigger piece. And what happens is you will start to have lucid awareness. And once you become lucid, and lucid means that you have the ability to think and to act or ask questions. So like you could have a meditation where you're lucid and you're actually asking a question to whatever shows up or to the situation. You can even ask it like to thin air, what's going on? That famous question, what's going on here? And you'll be told.
The fear for me, because I like to think that I'm in control, at least I convince myself that I'm in control, but I'm not so sure that I have the ability to come back. Just what if, right? What if? It was that out of control for me. That was the scary part. That is, you're on the high dive and you're looking down and you jump and your stomach, freaks out and then you hit the water and it's okay. But it's for a minute between the high dive platform and the water, you're not in control. And what if that water's not there and you continue to drop?
I think you are in control. It's that the terrain is so different than what you're used to observing. You think you couldn't control it, but you could. And that's the difference. There's two things that are like standard in the repertoire of anybody who does any kind of esoteric work. And that is, number one, you have that silver cord that connects you to your physical body, and you're not leaving till you're leaving. So whether you're meditating now or you're going to, jump out of your body in a car accident, doesn't matter. You're not going to leave. There's no danger of sitting down and doing a meditation and not coming back. There's absolutely none, as long as you're not doing drugs and stuff.
Right. Well, okay. The other part for me, if when I wasn't sure, I'm looking at the clock here. We got 2.5 minutes. I wasn't sure if this was 30 seconds or somebody could have told me it was 2 weeks. Right? It was like that.
Right, because the terrain was unfamiliar. The absence of a terrain that you can recognize is unnerving, to say the least. You know, it's like when people go into a deprivation chamber. You know, they're deliberately removing every kind of stimulus to create the same thing that you just described.
Right.
But here's the thing: if you when you start to feel that, if you say to yourself, I am me, or something that identifies, you know, I am here, you're gonna get your bearings again, because you're gonna get your bearings within you, and that happens again as an act of will. You know, initially you might might run off with that, but it won't take you. I absolutely promise it will not take you. It cannot take you. It's not possible. Something not possible.
Yeah. It's all very interesting, and we're going to take a break right here. But the experience itself, when it was all done, and I'm going to say it was like 30 minutes later, and I'm still a little stunned, and somebody that was there said to me, it was about 15 minutes, right? And I thought to myself, what? Yeah. Really? You know, and that number, 15 minutes is a long time. That's 15 minutes. I wasn't sure. I don't know. But when I was told that, I was taken aback. It was a profound experience. I had no idea it was that long. But I wasn't sure, you know, because I was so disconnected. Like I said, somebody could have told me it was 2 weeks, and I probably would have bought into that too as well. But profound experience to go through. Okay, when we come back, let's take a break right here. When we come back, we got to talk about 6D. I want to get into chakras too, a little bit too as well, and 7D and 8D. We'll do all of that with Maureen Saint-Germain. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Maureen Saint-Germain. Her new book, Waking Up in 5D. A couple of things really quick. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough. You can follow Maureen Saint-Germain, or TEI Incorporated, on Twitter. And I just want to announce really quick during the show tonight, Hugh Hefner has passed away at the age of 91. And certainly he had his critics, and whatever you've got to say about Hef, he certainly did things his way. But now he's on the other side. And I'm wondering what questions he has to answer for himself. Maureen, did you get the news? Did you see that?
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it.
I don't either, really. But he made it to 91, so there you go, right? No news about what happened or where it happened. If he was in the hospital or if he did it up at the mansion, but in his sleep. No word on that yet. We'll find out about that later. But certainly he did things his way, right? Lived in pajamas and a robe all day long, and I suppose I would do that if I could. But on the other side, you certainly do have to answer some questions and take a look at yourself and that's he's facing that music right now. But there you go, Hugh Hefner. Wow, 91, right? I don't know what to think. I'm with you on that. It's just kind of how do we digest that one? But there you go. Okay, now back to our conversation. We were trying to get through the definitions and the ideas of 3D, 4D, 5D. Now 6D comes into play. And 7D, and you just mentioned 8D too as well. And I think in my little meditation, I might have kissed 8D on the cheek for a second. I was right there. But when you're in 5D, and I think we've clearly defined that for everybody, but now 6D, what are we talking about here?
6D is a vibrational set that we're working with the stuff of creation, which is why we're taking our experiences of the day and rehashing them in our brain and turning them around and mixing them up. So, it's not a zone that we actually are living in or experiencing per se in the waking awareness time. It's more like that's where you've been because you were sleeping.
So you don't get a 6D patch to wear on your shirt.
No, you don't, because when you become fifth dimensional, you do have the ability to kind of go visit 6D at will. Right now, like you described in your meditation, you didn't appreciate going somewhere that you didn't have any control over. So in 5D, you have conscious ability to move your vibration into 6D, but it would take a certain effort to take yourself to a higher state of unconditional love in order to do that, clear out some whatever, fear and drama and whatever else is going on in your world. So, but the idea is that we have aspects of ourselves that are already vibrating at those levels. And once we know that, then we can tap into that and bring that part of ourselves. We can open up that channel of communication so that we can be more creative, so that we can, I think a lot of artists already were doing that, being creative, and all of that's coming from a higher plane of consciousness.
And how, okay. How would, if everything is great and you found your bliss and you know where you're at, is there a reference guide? Is there something that somebody can go to practice and to know what to do in 6D and why you would take advantage of it? Well,
In the book, I actually have a table where people can, I describe it a lot first in writing, and then I also put a table there because I think it's an easy way to make a cross-reference of something. But the idea is that why would I go to the trouble to give people that kind of information? And the answer is because you're already sliding there and you just didn't know it. And if I can give you what the terrain is like and what the environment is like, then you can purposefully go back, and now you are choosing it. You're not just being dragged along, screaming, ah! Right, like I was. Like you were.
And then 70. So if this is charted out, and I love that, by the way. And the other thing is, Maureen, that you have always done. Let me tell you what frustrates me, and I want the audience to recognize this. It's one thing I think a lot of speakers and a lot of teachers will speak about these things, but keep the real stuff to themselves. They're not actually teaching, right? And so people have, out of necessity, have to come back to them for more and more information. You, on the other hand, teach and you give people these tools and in a chart where this isn't always done, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about you, because I think it's frustrating for a lot of people out there that are trying to get to information and trying to understand what's going on. There's a lack of it out there because those that have it don't necessarily share. Why? What made you become different?
Well, for that very reason, being around teachers who were very exclusive, or teachers who were prima donnas, for lack of a better word, you get enough of that, and you say, you know what, I learned a lot, but I shouldn't have to be, treated like this. I shouldn't have to feel, uncomfortable or not good enough. So my feeling was, we're all in this together, and it's kind of a joke. For example, I teach people that there's more than one version of you, and that's pretty wacky. But I used to say to myself years ago, I want to be the first one published. And one day it occurred to me, there's probably another version of me that's been published for a long time. I'm the one that's catching up. And it just cracked me up that I was so naive. First I get this information, and then I have this wacky, idea that, I'm going to be published first. I made the joke it would get me out of bed in the morning. But here's what I want to say. I think that people thrive on the knowledge, and that they will come back when they're ready for more. And that, this is the kind of book that you're going to read and then put it down, and somebody will go back and read it, 6 months later, and they'll go, I didn't see that there the first time. And that's how it's written. It's written in a very dense way. There's lots and lots of information, and reading it more than once helps you kind of digest it. But I also want to make a metaphor, because I think metaphors really help people so we don't lose people along the way as we have this conversation.
Right.
And I want to give people a concept. And I'm going to talk about Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The woman who started that organization had a 3D experience. Her daughter died. And her 4D experience was all this emotion, because emotion is the stuff that is 4D. And whether it's a happy emotion or a sad emotion, it's passion. It's chi filled with a purpose, and it's thick and it's heavy. So that emotion drove her to create an organization, and that was the 5D thing. Then in 5D, we look at it and we say, okay, then she created this ideal that we could help raise awareness so that there wouldn't be this kind of a tragedy. No other mother would have to suffer like I've suffered. That's her spiritual motivation in 5D. Then in 6D, she forms this group and she gets other mothers to work with her. And it's the group consciousness that begins to emerge from this whole thing of one event, okay? And then from that vantage point, you take this energy of the group and you take it into what I would call group expression. So they go out and they educate and they start, teaching at AAA and high schools and stuff like that. But then they start to merge with dissimilar groups and they speak before Congress or they talk before other large organizations that have nothing to do with what they're about. And that's what is the 8th dimension. It's collective consciousness, where even though the groups are dissimilar, they can unite in a concept or an idea. So when I make these metaphors, it helps people kind of understand that this is like one seamless thing that we're able to differentiate categorically. Like, when you look at a rainbow, it's all run together, but you can still pick out the blue or the pink or the red. And the idea here is that we are all vibrating aspects of ourselves, at least in more than one other dimension. So, there's me and my 3D self and my personality that has, biases and attitude. Right. And then there's my 5D that's kind and generous and loving and, loves nature. And then maybe there's a 6th dimensional self of me that's really focused on understanding templates and forms. I joke around and say that I must have been in the Pythagorean school because of my love of sacred geometry, my love of order, and my love of laying things out so people can see them. And, it's a very 3D thing to compartmentalize something like I've done.
Right.
But at the same time, it makes it safe for people to look at and go, oh, I've been there. I remember when I was in that kind of an experience. I know what that's like. And so then they begin to identify that it's easier for them to accept the possibility that everybody's doing this, not just me.
And I want to jump to another subject. Well, it's all the same. You just mentioned sacred geometry, and I have, on this learning journey called life that I'm on, I have been trying to absorb a lot of extraordinary things, and one of them is chakras and your chakra points and what they are, and trying to digest all of that and understand. So when I'm speaking with somebody, they're talking, I want to know exactly what we are talking about. I want to have a general foundation and understanding. And then you go and throw the 8th chakra into the mix. So I'm just now, like a lot of our friends out there, are still on this journey trying to digest and understand their own bodies and things. and you jump in with the 8th chakra in this book. So what are we talking about here again? And just help me out here. I need some learning.
Okay, so the 8th chakra is the portal where we connect with our divine self. And the divine self is the 5th dimensional self. So another way to define the 5D self is to say it's the ascended master you, or it's the version of you that's so plugged into God. You don't make mistakes that hurt people's feelings. You don't do stupid stuff. You have awareness enough of what's going on around you that you don't pull out in front of somebody with your car and cause an accident. And that connection to the divine is a transition zone. One of the things I say to people is imagine, if you will, if you think that God is everything, or if you think that the universe is everything, then what are we doing here? Why are we here? And the answer in my mind is we separated from that which is inseparable to have experiences to add to the database. And so what we're doing now is kind of unifying all that and lining it all up and bringing it back so it can be, toyed with, if you will, or examined. So the 8th chakra is this place that sits above the head. And it's, for some people, it's, a foot or 2 feet above your head. And it's literally the portal where your higher self comes in and can then access into your body. And the thing is, when we invite our higher self to join us in our heart, we're literally opening up that portal and changing the energy. And it's a simple act of will to say, okay, fine, I want to wake up in 5D. And you start saying that. If this audience starts saying, I want to wake up in 5D every night before they go to bed, the next day they're going to wake up so happy and they're going to be in such a yummy place. Even if they used to wake up crabby till they got their coffee, they're going to be different and they're going to start to notice, or their partner's going to start to notice. What's up? What's with you? You on drugs or something?
Right.
And it changes who you are in a very positive way, because the thing is, we are creating this new earth that people are talking about. People talk about the crash and burn version. I go, yeah, that's out there. But, it's splitting apart. And those of us who are staying in our joy spot and are choosing to be in a place of connection to higher realms and to the most evolved version of ourselves that we can bring in, we're not going to be bothered by that. That's not going to come in our world. And there's this whole idea that there's we're phasing in and out of that, And the thing that's so interesting is that there's a lot of people that are dropping out. And maybe in one version of the reality, Hugh Hefner's, still living because he's on that crash and burn version. He's going down with a ship. I don't know.
Right. And so what about those that practice this? They have crystals. They want to lay down. They have things crystals placed in the room. They place the crystals on their different chakra points on their own body, and they're energizing and they're charging and they're doing all of this. Is there something that would also apply with the 8th chakra? Is there a crystal and a placement of that you would also do?
Yes. And I would use a stone that is a quartz, but it's a certain kind of quartz, and it's called a Faden, Faaden, and it's pronounced like there's an umlaut over the A, so it's Faden. And this is a specialized kind of quartz because it has threads going in one direction, and the points are going in a 90-degree turn. And that would literally help anchor that energy to the higher self and the higher dimensions. And there are other ones as well, but that's a favorite of mine.
I haven't seen any Faden quartz out. It's beautiful. I've seen it in pictures, but I've never seen any out. I got to get me some of this. Rita, we got to get some Faden quartz. Yeah, that looks cool. Do you have any?
It's very cool. It's pricey, but it's very cool.
Do you have some?
Oh, yeah. I have some.
Oh,
and
man.
in fact, people who learn to open the Akashic Records, I highly recommend that they at least have one piece. Yeah. So, a piece that's about as big as a cell phone, could easily be $100.
Right.
So,
right. Well, that's not too pricey, but man, this is, Faden quartz is some good looking stuff. And now, if I'm and because I always like to be the smart guy in the room, or at least I fake it, right? It's smoke and mirrors. Right. And I'm at a conference, and you know the drill, right? You've got the vendor area, and you're always going to have a couple of guys with a really cool massage table and a bunch of crystals, and we're going to align chakras, and maybe we'll do something electric. They've always got some new thing, some pair of glasses with lights on. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And now, if I bring up the 8th chakra to that guy that's doing the 7 chakra charging, am I going to be the smart guy in the room? Is he going to understand what I'm talking about?
Only if he studied the higher mysteries.
Right.
This is something that is available as a body of knowledge. I'm bringing it out to the public, but I'm giving people a meditation to use to connect to that. I'm not just telling you about it and saying it's out there. I'm giving you a way to connect to it and make it real for you. It's like the higher chakras haven't been, for lack of a better word, available to us. So people haven't known about it because it hasn't been important. We've been focused on the 7 chakras of the body, the wheels, the energy centers. As we start to shift and become higher dimensional beings, then we're going to want access to those higher vibrational tools. And so that's why this kind of knowledge is now becoming available. A lot of people don't know about the Earth Star chakra, and that's the one below your feet that connects you to Mother Earth. But if you start to, send energy or start to feel so loving towards your fellow man, you still need to be grounded. You need to be connected to the earth and be looking after Mother Earth as much as you're looking after everybody else. You're not just in that state of person to person. You now care about the planet as well.
You want me to tell you a funny story?
Sure.
I'm going to give you the short version of it. Rita and I, we go to a party, gathering, private thing. And we get there, and there's a shaman. He's, 200 years old, but he looks like he's 40, and a really cool guy. And so he's there. And it was a house full of shamans, by the way. It was out of control and wonderful. Very cool. So anyway, the shaman comes up. I don't want to say who it was, but she comes up to Rita and I, takes out a bottle, and puts, and I've given in, right? I'm
walked
cool.
to the door. They told you
right.
Anything.
I was invited, and we accepted the invitation. So anyway, she says, "This is for your 8th chakra." Right out of her mouth, and puts a drop right on the top of my head, right, and does it to Rita. And I'm like, okay, all right, okay, let's ride this thing out. So about 20 minutes later, maybe 30 minutes later, we're gathered in a circle in another room in the house, and it's a conversation and a little bit of a presentation from a director. Movie guy. And so, but they're all anyway, he's talking, blah, 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 blah. I'm not hearing a thing. Blah, 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 right? Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking around the room, Maureen, and I'm going, these colors are amazing. Right? And I'm serious.
That's, you've opened up the 8th chakra.
Man.
See, that's the thing. When you open the higher chakras, then sometimes the lower chakras also open up, because the pineal will give you those sensations if you allow it to be the receiver. It's like the antenna.
Right. Yeah. It was weird. Yeah. Just like you were saying, blah, 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 blah. It's just going on. Whatever. I'm so oblivious. And this room, which was just a room, but it was amazing at that moment, right? The colors, the things, the vibrations. It was really, really cool. And then this is what I was thinking to myself, and I'm not kidding. I mean, I've got to do Coast to Coast tomorrow night. Am I going to come down? Right? I was just like, man, I got to get my stuff together. How long is it? Was a pretty extraordinary experience. Now, can I keep you for a little overtime? A few minutes?
Sure.
Okay, because we're getting close to a break here. Now, what I find interesting, not only with that drop of this alchemical magic, that hit the top of my head, and with Rita, but the pineal gland is right there. And we're talking about the 8th chakra being above your head. I make that instant connection. Is that what is going on? Are we helping to exercise that?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what you're doing. In other words, you're opening it up, and the pineal gland gave you the visuals that went with the opening.
Could it almost be, I mean, you talked about ayahuasca earlier, and DMT comes to mind too as well. And that's something that is there, and it's natural, and it's inside of us. Are we helping that along? Is that what was causing me to see these vibrant colors?
The opening of your higher chakra, the 8th chakra, allows you to receive the data, okay? it's like you can have a speaker and you can have a receptor. You know, some devices that we own don't have speakers, and we have to plug in a headset or we have to plug in speakers. So think of it that way. So the 8th chakra gave you access to seeing more vibrant colors, but it was the fact that the 8th chakra opened that literally made it easy for the pineal gland to open, and then those colors would register on your 3D mind.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing to experience. And I, again, this is the funny thing, just like that little meditation experience that I had. This was also, although voluntary, but the experience itself was involuntary. Nobody, gave me instructions. That didn't, and I enjoyed it, but I still don't even know what the drop was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't ask, and I think that part of the innocence of that, where you surrender yourself and you have that trust going on, that bad things aren't going to happen to me right now.
Well, and not only that, but you had a room full of shamans, as you said yourself.
Right.
So there's a lot of, devotional people in the room that are holding a very highly evolved space.
Yeah, somebody Cortana just tweeted out, where can I get some of that chakra juice? All right, let's take a break right here. Let's do a little overtime with Maureen Saint-Germain. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and let's do this. Everybody hang out. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay right there.
To my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of. Ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. A little bit of overtime with Maureen Saint-Germain. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Do follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Maureen Saint-Germain, or TEI Incorporated, on Twitter. She's always hanging out in the sandbox with us. Now, Maureen, your eyes are lit up. You're a bright ray of sunshine. You walk around glowing. People want to hang out with you, and I understand that. But even you have a dark day, right? Even you have to combat certain things. So if you could, for the audience, when they experience something like that, what do you do? Is there an exercise? Is there something that you do to just counteract some instant thing, some painkiller? What do you do?
Sometimes I just, say a phrase like, all right, I'm stepping into 5D now, or an Epsom salts bath is always good. Quiet time is always good. Sometimes I speak my mind, and then I get it off my chest, then I can get back to being in my 5D place. It's kind of funny, but, if you have a pet peeve and there's someone in your world that keeps, pushing that button, you may as well say, hey, look, knock it off.
And that sounds almost too easy, but can it be that easy?
Yeah, it can. One of the things that I learned early on when I was working with the angelic realm was that we have free will, and free will gives us the right to claim the version of the reality we want. And if we don't choose it for ourselves, mass consciousness will.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. You were speaking earlier about stoplights and things and understanding what's going on around you and trying to stay up ahead of it. I had this experience, and I shared this with Rita over the weekend, and this was about 3, 4, 5 months ago, and I'm approaching an intersection. I'm driving. I'm alone. And to my right, I see a couple, and I can't remember. They seemed older to me, but anyway, making an indecision if they were going to cross the street and go straight against traffic or cross in front of me, right? Or, I see this indecision, and they did it a couple of times. And as I approach the intersection, I don't know which way they're going to go. So I slow down. And as I slow down for that second and a half, in front of me, blowing through the red light, I had a green light. Blowing through the red light was a nice, large, American-made white pickup truck. Blew through the stoplight at about 50 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Now, had I not, paying attention on this couple that was, to my right, in a normal day, in a normal thing with anybody, including myself, I've got the green light and I'm just going through the intersection. Right? Right? I got the green light. I've got the green light. And something caught my attention. And I don't know now. And I was talking to Rita about this. I don't know if that was some kind of divine intervention, right? I don't know really. But had I not just showed that little compassion for a second, this couple's going to step in front of me, and I just need to, make sure I can stop. Maybe they're not, but let's just, just in case my foot is on the brake pedal and I'm ready to stop, and I slow down. But it was only for a second, Maureen. Had I not slowed down for that, I would have been another 20 feet further into the intersection, and it would have been lights out.
Right.
It scared the crap out of me. It really, really, really did. And I was driving, and I was just like, wow, what a crazy sequence of events that just went down there. And I had to stop, and I had to recognize what just happened. But that is living in that world, isn't it? That is being aware.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Because your ability to perceive the reality around you, you don't always know why you're being told a certain thing.
Right.
Or, pushed a certain way. When I had a workshop in New York City on that weekend right before 9/11, and I was planning on flying home that Tuesday. And I had 2 big classes, and I was flying into New York, and then I was thinking, I'll take a play day. And I always check in on everything, but I hadn't checked in on a vacation day because I didn't take that many, and it didn't even occur to me that I needed to check in on that. So, but when I went to buy the airline ticket, going to New York was no problem. And then as I'm trying to buy the ticket to return, I have such a strong feeling of don't do this. It's kind of like an example is when you get that card, go straight to jail in Monopoly, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go straight to jail. And everything about you is like sinking. And that's just how I felt. And so I asked, well, what am I to do? Remember that what question? What am I to do? And I was told, you got to go home straight away as soon as that class is over. So I was on the first flight out of New York, full day ahead of that event.
Wow. I don't want to say who or what, but there was a band that I was working with that was set up and ready to shoot a music video on top of the World Trade Centers. And that morning, the crew was getting together at their hotel a couple of blocks away. Everything was set up that week. They had been prepping for this. And, a couple of crew members were late and things got delayed. And I was talking to them about and it's just kind of weird, right? Just kind of weird. And it made everybody a little bit uneasy, happy at the same. I mean, it was a tragic day for everybody, but what if, right? And you just have to recognize, what if somebody would have said, well, you know what, man, they're late. Let's go. And they can catch up to us. What if that decision was made? Right? It's just you have to recognize what's going on in the world around you and try to pay attention to it. And it's not easy to do all the time, but it's really funny how you start to recognize synchronicities and things, and just the little tiny things can add up in the end to be very, very big and life-changing.
Right, very significant.
Yeah, you can go back throughout your life and just look at these key moments. How did I get here? Right? How did I get here? If this hadn't happened 10 years ago, right, I wouldn't be here today. And you can look at each one of those, how you recognize to make a decision to take you down through life and changing your own reality. And this is something that you talk about a lot and write about a lot, but you can do this, and if you're not happy, well, it's because you haven't changed your reality. It's up to you, but you have to recognize the moment. What is it that you want to do? And you can change your own reality, can't you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. First, you have to realize that you are not powerless and that you can choose. A lot of times people get locked into, a belief system or a dependency, and then they think that they can't live without. This happens to a lot of women who are in abusive relationships, but the partner is financially abundant. So they feel like they can't walk away because then they won't have any money to live on. But if they did walk away, they'd do just fine. Because a lot of times, and this is something that's been told to clients through me in the records, sometimes the abundance is coming through you, and it's just that's the person, if you partner with somebody else, they're going to get rich. So you don't have to worry that if you leave the rich guy that you're not going to be rich again. I mean, it's a crazy way to put it, but it's very specific and clear. And so once we realize, oh yeah, I do have a choice here. And, a friend of mine was telling me that just recently, her daughter, who's newly graduated from college, she's been in her first job maybe a couple of years, she was so disgusted because she'd been promised certain things with the company and they didn't come through, so she quit. And her father was saying, don't quit till you have another job, the old line. And the mom saying, honey, if you don't feel good about it, don't stay. Your heart's not in it. It's not going to work for you. And the minute she gave up that job, another job appeared. And that happens with a lot of people. If you're willing to let go of what you have, something much better comes through, but you have to be willing to let go. You have to make that decision.
That's right. That's right. And where can everybody learn about this and get some of your meditation materials and the books and where you're speaking next? What's the best way?
Okay. They can go to my website, MaureenSaintGermain.com. And I also have a blog, MaureenSaintGermain.blog, B-L-O-G. I have a free meditation on the blog. I have a couple of free meditations on my website. I'm doing a Fountain of Youth ceremony. It'll be online for the annual Youthing Day, which is kind of a cool thing where the moon is so low that it bends back and touches its shadow, so to speak.
Right.
And it's a big tradition. I'm also going to be presenting at an event called In 5D in Las Vegas, October 20th to 22nd. And I'm actually going to be doing two presentations, one on the book and what it's like to be in 5D, and the other one is my experiences of being in the audience with Corey Goode and how I have vetted him, which is kind of cool because I'm sure people will be very interested in that. Let's see what's after that. Well, I'll be at Conscious Life, of course, in next February, and I'm going to be in Asia for a big chunk of time before that. So, yeah, lots going on. And
so, over at MaureenSaintGermain.com, all of your guided meditation CDs are there, and the books, and the new book, Waking Up in 5D.
Yes, and they can get it on Amazon. Or any other of their favorite choices. And, of course, it's available on Kindle. And before I forget, today is the last day of a summit that I did with 22 speakers where we dove deep with each of these speakers to, show what they're doing that's 5D. So it's kind of like branching out even further. And that's still available. I think they can pick up the last couple of interviews, or they can buy it. It's on sale right now, so they can buy it, or they can jump in and catch a couple of the last speakers. And the last two speakers were so awesome that I put fireworks on the announcement saying, this is like fireworks. We saved the best for last. So, you still can pick up some information there.
I want to thank you so much. It's always great having you on the show. I've just learned so much tonight, and I know that everybody else did too as well. Thank you so much, Maureen.
You are quite welcome. And everybody have a day of heaven on earth for yourself and everyone you come in contact with.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Maureen. Have a great rest of your evening. Maureen Saint-Germain. Unbelievable conversation. And it's like that every time that she is here. I want to thank her once again. And it is Maureen Saint-Germain.com. With that, I'm going to take a little break, and I'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I got to digest some of this. And maybe I wanted to get to phone calls, and we didn't do it once again. That's what it's like when you have a great conversation. All right. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Thank you, Maureen. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Man, the commercials seem like they're running hot tonight. Nothing has changed. We adjusted the compressors and stuff, and man, it's just like, wow, they're pumping. Can't get enough of Doug Aldrich, man. Amazing guitar player. All right, thank you, Maureen Saint-Germain. Again, MaureenSaintGermain.com is the website, and go and check it out. The cool thing, she's always got a free meditation or two over there. and also visit her blog. But she's got a whole collection of guided meditation CDs, and all of her books are there and DVDs. So do go and check it out. She's just one of the best. Great conversation tonight. We were actually, you were probably watching in the on the bunker cam. We were still texting back and forth after the break and during the break. And she just said thank you to everybody. And she just loves hanging out. She's probably over in Twitter right now, again, hanging out with everybody. So, again, thank you. She's one of the family. Some of the things that I was talking about tonight, I've referenced before on the show, like that the place that I went to up at ESETI. And I want to explain something. The reason why I haven't gone into detail, the experience itself is and was so profound when you go through that. And for anybody out there that hasn't done it, then you can't relate. And because I was one of those people. Up until that point, I hadn't done it. I have tried over the years many times to sit and meditate, sometimes alone and with others. Never, not even close. It was all fake, right? It just wasn't that. And I've heard and I've seen about these experiences and how important they are. And then boom, right? Boom. That's all I can say. And I went there. There was 3 times it happened to me over that weekend. 3 different experiences. The one was the big one. The other 2 were also pretty interesting too as well. All of it involuntary, right? All of it was just coming up and grabbing me. But if anybody here can go through what I went through, you will sound like me. I guarantee it. You will sound like me. You'll keep it private. Do you remember the first time that I had Robert Schock on the show? And he told us about him spending the night in the King's Chamber at the Great Pyramid in Giza. And he was there alone and slept in the sarcophagus. And I said, well, so what happened? Share that with us. And he said, no. That's personal. Whatever went down, that's between me and myself. And I was a little frustrated. I was like, you know what? And then I pushed him another time to tell us about that. And he said no. And I totally get it. What happened to me, I'm going to keep to myself. And that's it. But when you go through that experience for the first time, I guarantee you will not tell anybody about it or what happened during. Okay? All right? So that's it. And I totally get where Schock is coming from now. I totally understand it. And I understand nearly most everything that people talk about now because I had that experience. All right, there are a couple of funny stories I want to leave everybody with. Last week, a teenager suspected of killing, who was named one of, in the state of Texas, 10 most wanted fugitives, was caught here in Los Angeles last Tuesday. Why? How? After posting a live video on social media. His name is Christopher Ricardo Gonzalez, 18 years old, wanted by Dallas police in the suspicion of murder, aggravated robbery, and engaging in organized crime. He was arrested by Los Angeles officers after Dallas detectives found him when he posted his location on Instagram Live. He is accused of fatally shooting Horace Davis, 54, in Dallas last year. Officers were responding to a report of gunshots and found Davis dead in the driver's seat of a parked car and later got evidence linked to Gonzalez to the crime. A warrant was issued August 21st, the same day he was dubbed a Texas top 10 fugitive. Gonzalez is also among a group of suspects sought in several home invasion robberies in Dallas between October and February 2017. He was in custody last Tuesday and expected to be extradited to Texas. But it was not immediately clear if he was smart enough to hire an attorney who could comment on the allegations, because he's just not that smart. Now, check this out. As if the U.S. and North Korea, hadn't had enough of these bilateral tensions of late. Check this out. Outstanding parking fines from North Korea's diplomatic mission to the United Nations just add insult to injury. Now, check this out. According to the city of New York, the mission owes as much as $156,000 to the city of New York for more than 1,300 unpaid parking tickets. I'm not making this up. Now, Zhang Zhou, identified as the secretary of North Korea's UN mission, came to his country's defense, and he actually said, it's false. Whenever we have a ticket, we pay, because, if we have 3 tickets, the city does not allow us to renew their permission, which is actually a diplomatic parking sticker, right? Well, I don't think they're going to be getting those diplomatic parking decals in the mail anytime soon. Not now. But North Korea isn't alone in overdue parking tickets. And it's not the worst offender either when it comes to unpaid parking fines. Syria, the country of Syria, owes $362,550 in unpaid parking tickets. And China, are you ready? China owes $398,736 in unpaid parking tickets. And Russia has racked up fines of $104,231 American dollars. And that will conclude another episode of Fade to Black. I want to thank Maureen Saint-Germain for coming in tonight and spending a little bit of overtime with all of you. And also tomorrow night, I got to remind everybody that it is another Fader night with open lines and John Rappaport and his No More Fake newsroom live. There you go. And that's it. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Fader night. It is Thursday. Open lines all night long. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until then, I just want everybody to be safe, live in 5D, go Beckley Tappy.